Welcome back, seekers of the truth and guardians of the broken heart. You have entered the sanctuary of anything you want, the only digital archive where we refuse to be blinded by the glitter of the red carpet. Instead, we look for the cracks in the perfection, the shadows in the spotlight, and the silent tragedies that play out while the rest of the world is applauding. Here, we understand that the brightest smiles often hide the darkest ruins. Before we unseal the envelope on today's devastating revelation, I invite you to anchor yourself in our growing family. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss a beat of the truth. Press the like button to signal you are watching. And for those who wish to support our deep dive journalism, I urge you to click the join button. Your membership is the fuel that keeps our lights burning. Today, we are stepping into a night that was supposed to be a triumph but ended as a eulogy for love. We are talking about Barış Baktaş, the man whose charisma usually commands the room, the star of Bloodflowers who has captured millions of hearts. But on this specific evening, amidst the elegance and the fame, a notification arrived from Italy that froze time. A single photograph. A realization of betrayal. And a phone call that ended a marriage in seconds. What happens when the person you trust most sends a dagger through your phone screen? And how do you walk back into a party when your world has just ended? Stay with us, here on Anything You Want, as we witness the night the lights went out for Barış Baktaş. To understand the sheer violence of the fall, we must first appreciate the height at which it began. The evening in question had been curated as a festive celebration, one of those elite, high-octane gatherings where the air is perfumed with expensive scents and the sound of clinking crystal. It was a night designed for the elite, a space where elegance, charisma, and fame effortlessly mingled like old friends. As expected, Barış Baktaş became the gravitational center of the room the moment he walked through the heavy double doors. Dressed impeccably, his presence radiated that rare, effortless confidence that defines a true star. His smile illuminated the dim, ambient lighting of the hall, his humor flowed naturally among friends, producers, and colleagues. He was the sun in his own solar system. Though his wife, Gulum was absent, it did not initially raise the alarm. In the busy world of entertainment, schedules often clash. Barış had a way of commanding a space alone, filling the void with his personality. For the first few hours, it looked like the night would continue without a single shadow. The music was playing, the cameras were flashing, and the world seemed perfectly aligned. But sometimes, shadows do not walk through doors. Sometimes, they do not cast a silhouette on the wall. In the modern age, shadows arrive silently, carried on invisible waves of data, vibrating in a pocket against a beating heart. Behind the scenes, just as the applause echoed from the main stage and the laughter reached its crescendo, the vibration came. A message notification lit up the screen of Barış's phone. It was a mundane action, one we perform 100 times a day. But this time, the light from the screen revealed a darkness. What he saw in that moment reportedly froze him in place. It was not a text. It was an image. A photograph sent from Italy, from a source whose name remains shrouded in mystery, perhaps a friend looking out for him, perhaps an enemy looking to cause chaos. But the intent of the sender didn't matter. The content of the image hit him like a physical blow to the chest. Witnesses who were standing near him later described the transformation on his face as immediate and heartbreaking. It was as if a light switch had been flicked off inside his soul. The brightness faded from his eyes. His posture, usually so upright and open, shifted into a defensive crouch. A silence settled within him that no music, no joke, and no applause could overcome. He attempted, for a brief, agonizing moment, to continue the night as though nothing had happened. He offered polite, tight-lipped smiles to those who passed by. But those who know Barış well noticed the tremor beneath the surface. His eyes carried a weight that was impossible to hide, a toxic mixture of disbelief, profound disappointment, and a rising, cold anger he was desperately trying to conceal. I pause here to ask you, the empathetic souls of Anything You Want, have you ever received a text or a photo that changed your life in a second? That moment where the world stopped spinning? Share your experiences with us in the comments. We are listening. Unable to keep the storm contained within the walls of his composure, Barış stepped away from the crowd. He found a quiet corner, away from the prying eyes of the press and the adoration of fans, and he dialed Gulum's number. What followed, according to sources intimately close to the situation, was not a long, drawn-out argument. It was a brief, surgical excision of a relationship. His voice, normally calm, composed, and melodic, was sharp. It trembled not with weakness, but with the adrenaline of betrayal. "It's over," he reportedly said. There was no preamble. No hello. Just the verdict. "You shouldn't have done this to me. I didn't deserve this betrayal," he continued, his words cutting through the silence of the corridor like blades. Gulum, on the other end of the line, attempted to respond. She insisted she could explain, that there was context he was missing. But for Barış, the visual evidence was irrefutable. The damage was already beyond repair. In that moment, all the warnings from her past, the whispers he had ignored, the cautionary tales, even the harsh words from her ex-husband that he had chosen to dismiss out of love, echoed in his mind like a haunting chorus. He realized, with a sinking heart, that they had been right. His final words, as rumored by those who overheard the hushed conversation, were a tombstone for their marriage. "I should have listened. Shame on you." He did not wait for a defense. He did not wait for tears. He forwarded the photograph to Gulum, the very image that had shattered the foundation of their life together, and he pressed end call. In the modern world, a breakup is not just physical, it is digital. Moments after hanging up, Barış performed the modern equivalent of burning the letters and changing the locks. He blocked her. On the phone. On Instagram. On WhatsApp. Every channel of communication was severed. It was a total blackout. The chapter was not just closed, the book was burned. This action speaks volumes about his state of mind. It was not a pause to cool off. It was a finality. It was the action of a man who has seen something so unforgivable that he cannot bear to see the name of the perpetrator on his screen ever again. And then, he did the hardest thing of all. He went back inside. Despite this emotional earthquake that had just leveled his personal life, Barış returned to the event. He masked his devastation with a faint, practiced smile for the fans who approached him. Admirers took photos, laughing and posing, believing he was simply tired or contemplative. They were unaware that the man standing next to them had seen his world tilt off its axis only minutes earlier. This is the cruelty of fame. You are not allowed to grieve in public. You must perform. According to insiders, the betrayal cut deeper than most people know. Barış had invested not only affection but genuine, heavy trust into this relationship. He had defended her against critics. He had stood by her. So when the truth arrived in the form of that single photograph from Italy, it felt like a final blow, confirming all the doubts he had forced himself to ignore for years. Behind closed doors, his friends say he struggled to steady his breathing, overwhelmed by the mixture of hurt and fury that flooded him like cold water. This story is a testament to the hidden pain behind the glamour. If you appreciate the depth with which we explore these human moments here on Anything You Want, please take a moment to like this video. It helps us support honest storytelling. And if you want to support our team of writers, hitting that join button is the most powerful way to do so. Meanwhile, on the other side of the blocked line, Gulum Baktaş's camp was eerily silent. Those close to her claim she was devastated by the suddenness of the breakup. She was unable to articulate her thoughts, unable to defend herself because the line was dead. Yet Barış's resolute tone and complete withdrawal left no openings. For Gulum, every path back to him seemed abruptly sealed. Even people around her whispered that the weight of her past had returned to haunt her once more. The ghost of her previous life, the scandals, the rumors. They had all caught up to her in a single JPEG file. Some insiders say she is preparing a statement, desperate to control the narrative. Others believe she will keep silent, hoping the chaos passes. But one thing is certain, she knows what was in that photo, and she knows why Barış ran. Despite the emotional storm brewing privately within him, Barış did not halt his professional commitments. The show must go on. Those on the set of Bloodflowers described him over the next few days as determined, almost stubbornly so. He carried himself with a terrifying discipline. He learned his lines. He performed his scenes. He offered polite nods to the crew. Yet his eyes, they said, carried a depth of sorrow that even the brightest camera lights could not conceal. He was channeling his pain into his art, using the betrayal to fuel the emotions of his character. It was a masterclass in professionalism, but it was heartbreaking to witness. The most haunting image of this entire saga comes from the end of that fateful night. Late that night, after the event had ended and the crowd dispersed, Barış was reportedly seen alone. He was sitting in his car, parked in the shadows. He was staring through the windshield, but he wasn't looking at the road. He hadn't turned the engine on. There were no tears. Just silence. The kind of silence that follows a collapse that can no longer be denied. The kind of silence where you realize you have to go home to an empty house and restart your life from zero. The entertainment world will remember this moment, not for the glittering event Barış attended, but for the quiet devastation hidden behind his practiced smile. This was supposed to be his night. But a single photograph changed everything. In the aftermath of the breakup, Barış's behavior has remained consistent. Strong, silent, and unyielding. He has posted his usual charismatic photos on social media, but those who know him best sense the subtle heaviness behind them. His smiles are softer, his expressions slightly distant, as though something within him has closed its doors. This breakup did not simply mark the end of a romance, it became a turning point in the entertainment industry. For Barış, this moment may become the fuel for a new chapter. One filled with greater emotional boundaries, renewed ambition, and a deeper understanding of who deserves access to his life. For Gulum, the story ends here. Thank you for walking through the ruins of this relationship with us on Anything You Want. If this story of resilience and heartbreak moved you, please share it. We are curious, do you think Barış will ever reveal what was in the photo? Or is his silence the ultimate revenge? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. And finally, a reminder to click that join button to support independent, deep dive storytelling. Until the next secret is revealed, remember, trust takes years to build, but only a second to break.